So anyway, the introduction, Left for the Vultures, is an unforgiving dark fantasy role-playing game where vengeance propels your journey through a world of ruin, horror, and moral decay. You and your friends forge tales of triumph and tragedy, facing unspeakable horrors and hard-won victories. Every choice leaves a mark on the world, your enemies, and in your soul. In the end, you'll reflect on the trials that shaped your characters. Have they emerged stronger or merely broken in new ways? And what and was the price of vengeance truly worth it? So what I've encompassed here in the introduction is exactly what this game is about. Basically, it's a dark fantasy role-playing game. You go through to triumph, you go through tragedy. You're going to lose allies, you're going to lose other PCs, you might lose your character and have to make a new one. And then the new one that you make might suffer some major injuries and setbacks. In the end, as your characters are just propelling themselves into this journey of vengeance, they are being changed by the world and by the choices that they make. And eventually, when they finally finish their mission, if they survive, you can look back at your character and how much they've been changed, and basically determine whether your character has become a better person or maybe they've become the villain themselves. And that's the kind of storytelling that I wanted to incorporate into Left for the Vultures, is a, a journey of character, a character study for every single player. Each one of their individual characters is kind of a character study.
And those are the best types of characters, a character that grows and changes. And people know this deep down, even if they can't identify, even if they don't know anything about storytelling. It's a natural instinct that humans have for storytelling. And whether it's, a movie that they're watching or a story that they're hearing or a book, whatever, even in real life, that you need to have evolution of the character, whether it's a devolution where they're going to become darker, maybe less of a person, less human than they started, or they're evolving into something greater. You need that character, that story arc, the hero's journey. And that's a lot of recent movies that have failed. It's because the writers haven't stuck to that. I mean, it's tried and true, and it's been around since the beginning of humanity.
Yeah, and that was my biggest problem with 5th edition and a few other role-playing games that we've played, is your character doesn't really evolve. All they
Yeah.
do is they gain more abilities, they gain levels, and they get stronger, but they don't really change. You know, some campaigns, I know, again, people are going to be posting in the comments, well, in my campaign, our characters grow because blah, blah, blah. But, that's not part of the game. And I can assure you, a majority of people do not play that way. Again, I played with hundreds of players, 5th edition specifically, and a majority of people do not play the way that we're talking about. People do not have their characters change other than adding new abilities and stuff. Anyway, so the roles in the game, you have the Fate Binder, that's kind of your game master, and then you have the player characters, which in this game they're called Revenants. Revenant is someone who has died and come back to life, right? But in this game, you don't necessarily have to have died. You just have to have lost everything. So who you were has died. So that's why I call them Revenants. It's not that you necessarily died and came back to life, but the person that you once were is no longer who you are anymore. You've come back as someone else. You've come back as someone whose entire drive is just vengeance. And because you've lost everything already, you have nothing else to live for but to make those people pay who did whatever it was, who took everything from you.
Yeah, we've
So
talked about the bride from Kill Bill. You got John Wick. There's so many great revenge tales, revenge movies, and where the character just loses it all and then comes back a different person, hell-bent on revenge. And that's the great thing about this game. It's the vengeance role-playing game. There's no other one like it.